Hello! We have never told our love story before, so
never ends now. Let's get into it. Here we go.
It's like finding a treasure that's always been hiding. The first time that I see inside it and realize it's always been you. It's like reading pages and pages of stories of greatest adventure and glory. It's always been about you. When I close my eyes, it's you I see. I wanna feel like this forever and catch my breath every time you step into a room. I wanna hold you close and never let you go, 'cause I know forever was made for me and you.
So, the start of 2020, I moved to New York to do a video internship, and then COVID hit. So, I came home and my life was kind of all over the place, and I didn't really know what to do moving forward.
Midway through 2020, I had just come home from my mission in Samoa. And I was in kind of the same spot. I was like, well, I think I know what I'm supposed to do next, but not totally sure.
So, here we both are. We didn't know each other. We both kind of had our lives change abruptly. So, I was hanging out with my Mission Presence family. I was super close with them, and they're from Tooele County, where he is from. So, I remember telling one of the daughters of the family that I was just so confused and lost, and I didn't know what to do. But the last thing I wanted to do was date. All these guys were stressing me out, and I wanted to stay far, far away from them. Well, we were going on a walk, and the first lap I tell her all this. Then the second lap, she goes, "I think you should meet this guy, Drake Bailey." And I was like, I don't think you listened to anything I just said. But when she said his name, it kind of like, I don't know how to explain it, but it was just like, I already knew his name. It was like deja vu. It was so weird. I was like, what? No. But then I was like, well, okay. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, I knew that I was supposed to meet him. So, I was like, well, I'm not going on a blind date. Those are freaking weird. So, if you invite him over sometime, I'll meet him.
And at this time, I was just to the point where I was done with girls too. All the girls that I had met growing up, I'd gone on dates with, it's like, they're not for me. No one around here is...
Sorry if you watch this.
No one around here is really what I'm looking for. I'm sure I'll find her someday, somewhere, but for a while, I'm gonna just keep my options open and see how it goes. Until I get this text from my old Sunday school teacher, currently on a mission in Alabama, on Facebook Messenger. Shout out to Facebook for this amazing hookup. And I was just blown away. I read this message, and I didn't even really read it. Like, it's one of those things where you like read the words, but the meaning doesn't really click, you know, like when it's late at night. But it was different than that because other words were coming into my brain, the spirit. And it was like, you're supposed to meet this girl. This is going to be important. Do what these directions say. And I was like, okay, I can do that. So, read the directions, the instructions. It said that there was a barbecue on July 4th, that I was supposed to meet at this address. This was the number of the girl I was supposed to contact to get more information. and that Aspen Brooke Schultz, Sister Schultz, was going to be the person I was set up with for this day.
So the day comes, and he had arrived. I was in another room talking with the people, and then their little grandson, he was like 1 or 2. I like pick him up, so I come around the corner holding a child, bright red lipstick on because it's the 4th of July. I never wear makeup, but he didn't know that because I'm all decked out. Have a child, and I come around the corner. But before I agreed to meet him, I had 3 requirements. 1, he had to be tall, because I'm really tall, I'm 5'9". He had to be athletic, because I love playing sports and having fun. And 3, he had to have dark hair. That was super important to me. I just have always liked dark hair, and so they said yes, yes, yes. So here I come with a baby and bright red lipstick and makeup, and here he is.
We'll put a picture of it so you guys can see it in its true glory. But I'm sitting there at this counter surrounded by people that I barely know with bleach blonde hair. Can you believe that?
He literally
What a goon.
bleached his hair like a few days before.
Yeah. It had been long enough that I had some brown roots, so there was evidence that I actually had brown hair.
And I was like, what is going on? But at the same time, he was thinking, what is going on? This girl probably just wants to get married and have babies like right away and wears way too much makeup. So our first impressions of each other were not the greatest. But here we were, so we just kept going, had yummy food.
So much food.
We were talking, and this is where it all kind of clicked. We were talking, and he told me that he loves baseball, and I love baseball. So already I was like, okay, I love it. But then we just kept talking, and he told me that he was going to school in southern Utah, and I was going in northern Utah to school. So I was already in my head thinking this isn't gonna last. We only have a few weeks left of summer. We'll just have fun while we can. So that's what we did. The whole rest of the day, we just had so much fun. We hung out for like 8 hours that day.
Talking, swimming, eating, playing spike ball,
Oh,
losing
hours.
at spike ball.
That's our first picture together, is playing spike ball.
Yes, and we got thrashed. That was how I knew I would be okay with her, because she was competitive and wanted to win, but she lost, and it wasn't like
The end of the world.
the end of the world. So
Yeah.
I was like, okay, that's attractive. Just little things that
You pick
I was
up,
finding.
you know? And up until this point, I had gone on dates with people and like had great friends, but I never really was like super interested in like keep dating people. But then I met him, and I don't know if it was just the fact that I was like, it's not gonna last, so I wanted it to last, or I don't even know. So I just really wanted to keep hanging out with him. So it's time to leave. He has to go, and I'm like walking him to his Jeep, and I'm like, thanks for coming, and you should come hang out with us another time. Like, we're always here.
And that's when I laid the moves. You
Mr.
ready for this?
Smooth.
So smooth. Not a super intense move. Don't get too ahead of yourself. But I look at her and I was like, oh yeah, that was a ton of fun. I'd like to keep hanging out with you too. So why don't you give me your number? And that way I can be in touch whenever you guys are out here doing fun stuff. I was like, yes, nailed it. And I looked at her to see what her response was.
And I was like, okay, got it.
I was so confident.
Gave it to him, gave him a hug, which I guess sealed the deal because he said he loved my hug.
It was still to this day probably the greatest hug I've ever received in my entire life. She stood up on her tippy toes and wrapped her arms around my neck and gave me the tightest squeeze, and I was like, well, she must have felt something good to give me a hug like that. Okay. No questions asked. I think I got her attention. That got my confidence up, so that was a huge bonus to keep moving forward.
And then we talked and hung out every single day after that. And we lived an hour apart. So we really were like committed. And I think it was, again, because we just thought we would run out of time. But I would drive up to see him, he would drive down to see me. And we just did like everything together. We went on hikes. Our first date was a hike. And we went to the drive-in. They love the drive-in.
Yeah. I guess my takeaway from it is just to take risks, to not just go based on first impressions, to kind of explore the opportunity a little bit. I always talk about opportunities, it seems like, but, take a chance. It's okay. The longer you stay with something, the more you'll have invested into it, right?
True.
So, invest a little bit. Doesn't have to be a ton. You don't have to be glutton for punishment, but just to experience it. Enjoy it.
Go for it. Take a risk. I like that. It's kind of similar of what I was gonna say. I think the thing that helped us so much and the thing that I think made me fall for Drake was there was no expectations going into it. Like, it was easy to take a risk because I wasn't expecting anything, and then the story will continue because we have a lot more controversies now. It's like, well, now I like you and now we're gonna be on the other side of the state from each other, and so what are we gonna do? But it's like we didn't have any expectations. We just were trying to enjoy life together and like try to make it work and try to spend time together when we could, and like you said, just take a risk. And that's why it was so fun for the first little bit getting to know each other, because we had no expectations of where it was gonna go or how long it was gonna last. It was just, let's just get to know each other and have fun and make it work. So we're just living life, doing our thing.
Life is a roller coaster, ups and downs, ins and outs, back and forths. That's a lot of them. But just enjoy it. Remember,
Go with it.
life's out there, so go live it. We love you guys.
We love you, and stay tuned for the rest of our story.
Part 2 coming soon.